Hi, welcome to Bad Influence. I'm here with my friend Ken Garr.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me, Courtney.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course.
How's it going?
It's going great. I'm going to Costa Rica in 3 days for a wedding.
Ooh.
A destination wedding. Yeah.
How many people did they invite?
I don't know. Like, I know a bunch of people that are going, but I just saw this. I'm so last minute with everything that I do. Like, I literally today was like messaging the concierge, and I'm like, my wife wants to see monkeys, make it happen. He's just like, okay. He's like, can we call?
Wait, what a good husband.
Yeah. Oh my God. She's like, monkeys. I'm like, all right, babe, monkeys.
You're like, oh my God, I got you. Yeah. Michael Jackson, I'll get you a pet.
She's like, sloths on Saturday. I'm like, all right, monkeys Friday, sloths Saturday. It's just, if I put an animal anywhere near my wife, she's the happiest person in the world.
Oh my God.
Just the happiest.
That's the best.
Yeah,
it's like, at least you know, like,
yeah.
Do you guys have dogs?
We have 2 dogs, 2 guinea pigs, and a bearded dragon. And they all get along. The bearded dragon crawls all over the dogs. The guinea pigs sleep next to the dogs. They're more famous than I am on social media.
That's great.
They have like 20,000 followers. Yeah. It's insane.
That's like my dream. I feel like if I have kids, and I'm going to be the person that like they have like 18 pets because I also want.
Well, they are our kids because we're not having kids because I'm an old man. And she's like, but my wife like looks at me that way, like, so she'd be like, "You're not gonna believe what your daughter did today." I'm like, I don't have a daughter. Like I aborted my daughter. It's gone. Like
your daughter's gone.
But like she's like, your daughter did it. I'm like, you mean our dog Shrimp? You know, she's like, yeah, of course, our daughter. I'm like, okay.
I had a friend who time we were gonna do something, she was like, okay, I just like have to take my daughter out or like take my daughter, and I legitimately thought she had a kid.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it's a pit bull?
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, it has 3 legs? Mm-hmm. Cool.
Mm-hmm. But she was like, a lot of it was like on text too. So you're like, my child. And you're like,
yes.
Oh, how old's your kid?
Yeah. And then she's like, I'll be on the road. She's like, we miss you. I'm like, my dogs don't give a shit that I'm gone. Like, they get mad when I leave because I see the suitcase. And my dog is like, well, that's the one that feeds me. This is, he's leaving. I don't know how I'm going to eat. But my dog, like, so she's had a dog for like 9 years. His name's Wilbur. And then we rescued a dog. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, this dog and I have bonded. And like, it's like my sister wife. like honestly. And so, and her name is Shrimp. And so like, she gets sad when I leave. But then I'm like, and then I'll take her for a walk in the neighborhood and some guy like give her a treat. I'm like, and she'll just go with him then. I'm like, dude.
That's the one bummer about dogs is like, on one hand, they love you, but they love everyone.
It's conditional. Completely. We have trained them to love us. So.
Yeah. My roommate has a cat and I'm like not a cat person.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I like earned the cat's like love.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this does feel good.
Yeah.
I'm like, dogs just love you automatically, but like this cat stayed a long way from me for a long time.
You earned it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And my roommate leaves a lot. So I'm like, I think she was just like, this is the only person here.
This is my new mom.
Yeah. I'm like,
I'm both have abandonment issues.
Yeah. She's like, she got a boyfriend, and I'm like, well, her boyfriend's allergic to cats, so now I have a cat.
Oh, that's so funny.
She's gonna be lonely and be a cat lady.
It's so funny when people get into relationships, like how quickly they're just like, I'm gone forever, goodbye.
It's so funny when it's your roommate too, because you're like, do I live alone now?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then it's LA, so everyone moves in so quickly.
So quickly.
Like they're like 6 months in, they're like, what are we? Like, let's do this.
It's because you're like, well, my lease is up, so
yeah, of course, yeah.
We're either breaking up or moving in together.
Look, I got to let them know if I'm leaving this garage or not. So
my parking spot is worth $1,500 a month.
Yeah, let's get serious.
That's
Am I getting off this oil stain or not?
Yeah. When they broke up, I was like, I had this whole apartment.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
It was so nice. And then all of a sudden she was like there every night, and I was like, so you dating anyone? Do you wanna
let's get on the let's do this together.
Back on the horse.
Let's get on this thing, huh?
Rebound.
My last roommate before I got married, we were in a long distance relationship, my wife and I. So she lived in Chicago, I lived here in Los Angeles. And my good friend left. He went back to Chicago, and he found a guy that was moving out here from Chicago. The kid was like 24, was just out of college. Like his mom and dad for sure paying the rent.
Yeah.
You know, but this kid was like, I guess a Gen Zer. And so like he just literally stayed in his room the entire time. Like he had dream. 2 towels, right? And they both hung. He hung them on the back of our bathroom door. And one day I just moved the towel, just like what's that stuff that grows? Not algae, like
mold.
Mold. Yeah, just mold. And I'm like, so finally I just like, I would secretly wash his towels for him and then just clean the mold
He's like,
off.
I've never lived away from my mother.
Showered he didn't. He had no, this dude, because we don't have a dishwasher. So this kid, nice kid, sweet kid, great roommate, but like,
does not sound like a great roommate.
Well, he didn't have basic skills. Like, he didn't know how to do dishes at all. That'd be great if he listened to every podcast I ever do.
He's probably a huge fan. He's like, that's actually my mom.
That's so funny.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
My worst roommate ever was in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I lived there for 2 years.
Okay.
And I found an apartment on Craigslist, which I feel like everyone I know has done that and it's been fine. And I did it and it was like the nightmare situation.
I hate it.
It was in Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
And it was like too affordable for where it was.
Yeah,
and it was
that's
like
a red flag.
It was a real red flag that I should have paid attention to. But it was above 2 different bars. Mm-hmm. And Chicago bars don't close.
Yep.
Yeah. And my window was directly next to the L tracks.
Perfect.
So like
this sounds great.
It just shook, like my whole room would shake.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got used to both of those things.
Right.
And then it was like I was living with 2 other girls, and one of them was like a girl who was in her room all the time and was very nice.
Yeah.
The other girl started out nice.
Yeah.
And then she had like a legitimate mental breakdown.
I'm on board already.
Which,
yeah,
it's already weird when you're like, I don't know you. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
And she's like, everything's falling apart, and like like really comes to you with like her life's drama, and I'm like, call your friends. Do you have friends?
Yeah.
But eventually she ended up going to the psych ward.
Okay.
Which was good. It was the right step.
Yeah.
But then she got out, and she brought everyone she met there.
Oh, perfect. Yep.
To our apartment.
Yeah. Above a bar that's open until 3 a.m. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were just doing all the drugs.
Of course.
Like,
yeah. These people get me.
Literally. And I was like, but they have my laptop.
Yeah.
Like, can I get that back?
Who's got my roller skates?
Yeah, right. I remember one day I was like, they were all there, and I was like going to stay with a friend because I was like, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah.
And I just like had a suitcase because I was like, all right, I have like 4 expensive things. I'm taking them with me.
Yeah.
And she was like, are you going on vacation?
Yeah.
And I was like,
I am.
Yeah. Can you let me know when?
To Wicker Park.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Oh my God, Wicker Park. That was like the cool neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful. There's nothing worse than a bad roommate situation.
Well, and it was like, I think I was like 21 or 22.
Oh yeah, you're young.
And it was like, I don't know why, as a young 20-something, I had no problem solving skills.
Yeah, of course.
I was like, there's nothing I can do. I just live here.
Yeah.
And if like...
I just redid all of his dishes for him. Like, there was no point in being like, hey, man, like, how do you tell a 24-year-old man, like, I call him man, I use that term loosely, but like, hey, man, let me show you how to wash a glass real quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like 9 fingerprints on the... I'm like, okay, guys.
Well, that's the job of your parents. What
I
did
know.
they do?
They didn't do it. They failed miserably.
Oh, that's tragic. And then you have to live with it.
And then I got engaged like literally the day the pandemic broke out. I got engaged on my birthday. It was March 13th, 2020.
Wow.
And everything shut down. The whole world shut down the next day.
Yeah.
And so I came back for like a week, and then I went back to Chicago and stayed with her for a few months, and then we got married. But I told my roommate, I go, man, hey, man, I go, yeah, I just got engaged. I'm like, you got about 6 months to find, which I thought was like really, that's plenty of time.
That's a lot of time. I feel like most people would be like, you have till the end of the month.
Right. No, I was like, I didn't want to like leave it, but I was like, yeah, man, you got like 6 months. He's like, you got to go. Like, he's like, oh, okay.
Like start dating.
Yeah. So he did. He ended up moving with a girlfriend. He had a long distance thing going on with a girl in Atlanta.
Oh.
And they were like little Pokemon nerds. The kid was a nerd, but he's just a sweet kid.
Aw.
So, yeah.
Did you find a little Pokemon nerd girlfriend?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
Oh, that's how they met, I think. They met at like a Pokemon board.
Everyone I know here that's like married or getting married, they met their like significant other somewhere else, or like it's long distance first.
Yeah.
No one meets in LA.
Is terrible here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. You have to import somebody.
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
Where do you find them though?
Huh?
How do you import? Like, how do you just be like?
I mean, I was friends with my wife for 6 years before we
started. Whoa.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. Well, we like, so I guess it's a podcast. I can tell a story. So I met my wife the day I got divorced. Yeah.
Wait, that's like very like rom-com.
I know. And everyone's like, you should write a movie about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't write. It's like riff.
Have someone else take notes.
Yeah. Write this down. But we met. So I went to court. We got divorced. We fucking fist bumped. See ya. Mm-hmm. Getting divorced is like, it's weird because the guy in front of me, I went to high school with him. And
is he also getting divorced?
Yeah, he was also getting divorced. Like you're just like standing in line. Like, I was like, so what's going on? What are you get up to? He's like, I don't know, living a nightmare. I'm like, got it. Okay, cool.
You're like, oh, same.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, we're in divorce court. So I get divorced. I go to the mall. I had to get new tires on my car. And like the whole day, you're just kind of like in this like weird.
I would imagine.
And you're not like, you're kind of dissociated. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting the tires. And he's like, all right, I need 2 hours to fix tires. So I go to the mall. Mm-hmm. I go to the mall and I'm like, today's the first day of my whole life. So I went and got like $100 pair of jeans. I'm that guy that got like Old Navy jeans my whole life, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy a $100 pair of jeans.
Now that I have to share all my money with someone I don't live with.
So then I tried on a V-neck. I didn't buy it. I just tried it on. I put like a thirst trap. I still have it.
Classic V-neck thirst trap.
And I posted a thirst trap. And then I picked up my car. I went to an open mic that night. I was a drinker at the time. Handed the bartender my keys, and I said to him, I just got divorced today. I go, don't give me my keys back no matter what.
Wow, that's very responsible.
Yeah. Oh, because I knew I was going to get,
Yeah, I probably would have still tried it.
Then I tried, I'm sure. And then my older brother came by so it was open mic night at what at the time was my home club. And I get on stage, and it's actually like, in Chicago, open mics are great. I don't know if you did any of that.
I did them a little bit.
And they're great because like real people show up.
Yeah, I thought that was how open mics were.
Yeah. You come to LA.
And I went to it and I was like, what the fuck is
everyone
slotted?
put their guns down. Take them out of your mouths.
Yeah,
right?
I'm
We're
like,
doing an open mic.
I feel like that's my fear is usually, I'm like, every open micer in LA gives off mass shooter vibes.
Oh, every one of them.
So I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is how I'm gonna die.
I brought my wife to one open mic in Los Angeles, and she grabbed my arm and she looks at me and she goes, what's happening right now?
It's like you do comedy, you've been doing comedy. She went to one and she's like, oh, never again.
Because we were like out doing errands. I'm like, hey, you mind? I'm like, and I thought of a bit, and I'm like, you mind if I pop into an open mic real quick? She's like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then like by the third like incel, she's like, are we gonna be killed? I'm like, probably.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna use you as a shield.
Yeah.
So I go and I do open mic at my home club, and I gave the audience a choice. I go, do you want me to do my regular set, or I got divorced today and I could talk about that. And the whole audience like, divorce,
Yeah.
And so I riffed for like 10 minutes about my divorce and like what I went through. And it was like funny, but it was like also like really raw, really real. Mm-hmm. So I get off stage, I go outside where the bar is at, and the whole open mic's over, and this beautiful girl, I mean, she was so beautiful. In fact, my brother noticed her first, and she's like, look at that. And it was like,
you're
that,
like, mine.
The way I just, right, yeah. I'm like, you're married, bro. Come on.
You're like, I got divorced today. It's time.
Right. So she walks up to me, which was very rare for me. And
so humble.
I know. She walks up to me and she's just like, was that real about like you getting divorced? I go, yeah. She's like, that was incredible. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, well, I'm like, and this is how little game I have. I'm like, well, I'm headlining in a couple weeks. Come back. But it's kind of funny. Like, had I not gotten divorced that day, I don't think I would have had the courage to do what I did next, which is I walked up to her with my name and number on a napkin, and I slid it over, and I said, I don't want to wait 2 weeks to see you. I go, call me tomorrow. And like all of her friends went,
yeah, because it's like that's what every woman dreams of.
And so she like texted me that night. She's like, that was a baller move.
Yeah.
And we went on a date, but I was just like so like broken, as a person, and drinking and just like we both, and she was coming out of a relationship, and we both knew we weren't ready, but so we ghosted each other, and then we found each other on Facebook, and we eventually became friends. In fact, I even went to her wedding like a few years later, and her marriage ended up lasting like about a year and didn't work out. And we just kind of started dating right away, and it was like we were always into each other, but never like I never flirted with her. I wasn't disrespectful. In fact, when she told me she was getting divorced, she told me I was like the only guy that didn't. What's that?
You're throwing a party.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, I'm in your bushes. Come get me.
Yeah.
But I was like the only guy that didn't try to like sleep with her. I was like legitimately like, hey, do you need a friend? Like, do you want to talk? Like, can we have lunch? And
I'm like, all of this. I'm like, how could she not have fallen in love with you?
Right.
You're like doing all the best moves.
But then even when we start, like, she's like, because when we first started together, she's like, I just want to hook up, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I go, I like you. And I go, go bang a bunch of dudes for a year.
Yeah.
Go destroy
this
these
men.
This is a
rom-com.
Yeah. I go
I'm like,
destroy.
this is a good movie.
Right. And so I go destroy these poor dudes. And then when you're ready.
Break some hearts, just not mine.
Come find me. I'm like, I'll be here. And she's like.
Oh, my God.
She's like, no, I really want to try it. And we went on like one date, and that was like it. Like we just knew. And here's what's funny. And here's the rom-com part of it. Right. So when I was at her wedding, again, this wasn't like, I wasn't like pining after her. I didn't have some secret crush. I was just, she was just always like, at that point we were kind of like best friends.
Yeah.
And I just really cared about her, like legitimately.
Yeah.
But what's funny is like, she also knew all of the shit that I was doing when I was dating. So like there was no fooling her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like I couldn't like try to be something I wasn't. I was like legitimately like she's like I'm not gonna. She's like I knew you were a hoe. She's like I knew your hoe days.
Yeah, right.
She's like I know like I know all of it. I'm like so when I was at her wedding. I remember getting in my car and I kept thinking like I'm like this isn't it. Like I don't feel like maybe not, it won't be for like 30 years. But I kept thinking like
end up together.
We're going to end up together. Like, I'll be working some cruise ship somewhere, and she'll be like, my husband just fucking died or whatever. I don't even know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
Made that way more tragic then.
Yeah, well, I'm like, because you're like, they're going to be together forever, right? And
no, I never think that. Very rarely. I'm like, 5 years.
Yeah.
Every time one of my friends gets married, I'm like, I'm giving to 35.
You, like, post-date the check gift. You're like, you guys can cash this in
Dude,
5
I've been
years.
a bridesmaid quite a few times, and I'm like, every time I'm like, am I going to get this money back when you guys get divorced after kid number 2?
Oh, yeah. You can tell at the wedding.
It's like...
Yeah, I've stood up in a couple of those.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like, this
like,
ain't going to last.
Like, you don't like each other.
I know what you did at your bachelor party.
Yeah, right? I know. I'm like, I know some things.
So I kept having this vision in my head of, she's an artist, of her painting, like 30 years down the road, of her painting and me just like reading on the couch. Like I just had this vision.
Aww.
And then literally I have a picture of us, of me reading and her painting.
Oh, that's so
and
cute.
And I'm not like this, like The Secret or Vision. I don't you know what I mean? But it just literally like came into existence.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like we've spent many episodes talking about my terrible dating life, and I'm like, there's hope.
There is.
I feel like the
just
one thing...
leave LA.
That's
or just don't date in LA.
For real, though. I'm like,
Yeah.
everyone here is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can't date, or I usually don't date people I'm already friends with, because I'm like, they know too much.
I think but for me, that was the good thing.
Yeah.
Because like my MO for dating was like I come from a position of low self-worth and low self-esteem for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so I had to like create a character almost.
Yeah.
This bigger than life thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Especially, and it's really easy to do when you get on stage.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like,
For sure.
hey, just come to my show.
Yeah.
And they see this like bigger than life character.
Yeah. And they think you're like this really confident, cool.
Yeah.
I had an ex when we broke up. He was like, yeah, I feel like you completely gaslit me into thinking you're like a chill, cool girl. And I'm like, no, I am sometimes. Yeah. But then when I lose my shit, I like lose my shit.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like,
100% accurate.
But you like cool, like dude stuff. And I'm like, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
It's like, that means I have daddy issues.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were in my fantasy football league. What the hell?
No, legit, that we were. I won the fantasy football that year.
Of course you won.
Yeah, I'm so fucking good at fantasy football.
Like, no, you're good at it because
I use my brothers.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
And I actually do know, like,
a
medium amount about football.
Yeah.
But I feel like guys are always like, oh my God, it's so cool. And I'm like, yeah.
I think every girl's cool the first 90 days. And like on day 9, I literally wrote this bit one time about like how I'm only going to date girls for 90 days because on day 91 something so funny changes. Just one, like there's like a one, and it's so small. It's just like these are the bananas you got. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. And I'm like, it's over. It is over. 91 days. Somebody mentions something.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm out. Like I want to break. Like, but I thought things were going great. They are going great, but.
I'm so good at ignoring red flags and like things that are like obviously.
Stop doing that. Stop it.
I fall in love with terrible people.
Oh, I fall in love before the appetizers get there.
Exactly.
It's like, so
I have like a whole story in my head.
What were you thinking for an entree? And did you want to move in with me?
You know, I'm like, get married tomorrow. That's really romantic to me.
Yes. So do this. Here's my advice to you. Try to convince whoever you're dating next to not date you. Because that's exactly what I did with my wife.
Really?
I spent like
That's so funny.
The first 6 months being like, this is a terrible idea. Like, you do not want to. But she knew me. Like, she knew, like, because we had, and I
that's
also
the scary part.
I also encourage, like, especially comedians, to get into long distance relationships because, like, and especially if, like, you fall in love easily, because I'm the exact same way.
I fall in love very easily.
The long distance forces intimacy. It forces you to get to know this person. It forces you to like have conversations and not like immediately be physical or immediately like enmesh yourself.
I'm really good at immediately. I think my last 3 relationships, like we met and then spent like 2 weeks together.
Of course,
like the whole.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's not how you're supposed to like date.
Right.
And like someone was like.
Right.
Don't do that's awful. That's terrible. And I was like, no, but we just really liked each other. Like, what else would you do? And it's
so
like,
I came out of a very toxic, terrible relationship, and it was kind of like a rock bottom in a way for me. And so I said, all right, for the next 90 days, I'm not dating, and not even that, I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Because I was always just like, look, you know what I mean? On Instagram, on the dating apps, like, and I didn't realize this. That from the time I got divorced up until that moment, I hadn't stopped dating or fantasizing or like seeking out a partner or you know what I mean? Like it had been like my primary purpose in life was to be with somebody. And so when I took that 90 days, it was terrifying. And I know if you're a normal person right now, like you think this is a really weird, this is really weird. But if you are like, you come from like this background of like constantly being in relationships.
Yeah.
The idea of being alone and not looking or hunting or whatever you want to call it, and really it lets like you have all these feelings kind of come up, and you deal with them, and you clean house, and then like literally right around the 90-day mark, my wife now slid into my DMs, and she was like, "I had a sex dream about you last night," and at the time we were friends. I'm like, "What is happening right now?"
You're like,
and I even stopped her. I go, "What are you?" I go, "Was I any good?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "But I broke your dick off," and I was like, "That's weird."
You're like, "Okay, I didn't need to know that part."
Yeah, let's. So but I called her. I'm like, "What's going on right now?" And then she's like, kind of told me that her marriage was ending. But if you I tell everybody like, take a break, man.
Yeah.
Like just and like really, but like even get off the apps, even quit flirting, even like pull yourself out, and then and I say this all the time. This is like so cheesy, but like. It's not until you realize like you're the love of your life, right? Like
when love yourself first stuff.
Honestly, but it's so cheesy, but it's so true because until you realize that your partner is just a compliment, you know what I mean, and not like the source of self-esteem, self-worth, all that stuff. I'm not speaking to you directly.
No, this is all very,
but,
very. They're like, because first year of sobriety, everyone's like,
sure,
don't date.
Oh, 100%.
Which.
Yeah, and and everybody does.
Yeah,
but we still have to say it, and we still mean it.
That was the biggest mistake I made.
Was dating again.
Was dating,
of course.
And I like immediately was like, I mean,
enmesh.
I don't love the like love addict-y stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like all of my like
right
addictive energy.
Of course,
just like switched to that, and then it was like, oh, you do need to work on yourself.
Yeah,
alone. Like
yes,
and it was like, oh, I had to learn that lesson.
It's
the hard way.
Dude, it's such a hard lesson to learn because I did the same thing. So I quit drinking, and the first year I was smoking weed. And then I'm like, I don't know. And then I actually had like an argument with my sponsor. I'm like, I don't have a problem with weed. He's like, then quit. I'm like, then I will. And then I stopped. I reset my time and all that stuff. And then I stopped weed. And then, I had always dated toxic women. Always, always, always. But this was like next level shit.
That's exactly what I was like.
This was, and it was like, so it's almost like the way I describe it is like you play like whack-a-mole with your addictions, and you could call it sex addiction or love addiction or whatever. You don't have to call it anything. The fact is that like I have this like giant hole in my soul, and I will put literally anything in it.
Yeah.
Reese's peanut butter cups, poker, women, anything. You know what I mean? Tacos. Fuck, it doesn't matter. Like insert something here. as long as I don't have to feel that feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I did this like 90-day cleanse of pursuing relationships or sex or whatever it was, that shit came to the surface, and it was just like, it was painful, but like, my God, did I come out of it on the other end like feeling like amazing.
That's awesome.
And then God or whatever you want just delivered my wife to me. It was just like, here's your prize. I was just like,
that's amazing.
This person that knows you already, and I literally cannot bullshit her.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when she first came to LA, I like introduced her. I'm like, oh, this is so and so. She's like, yeah, I know, you fucked her. I was like, God damn. Like, she's so like, you sent me a picture of her after you like. I'm like, oh God.
Wait, that's so funny.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that's like a whole nother level of trust. Like that's
I think I was grooming her, to be honest with you. My wife, I'm like,
whatever, if it worked, it worked.
This hot girl, I deserve you.
So crazy.
Yeah. But
I'm just now doing the thing where I'm like not dating.
Do it. Stick to it.
I'm only 30 days in, but I'm working on it. But I will say, when I was in rehab, my like counselor told me I was the most all or nothing person she'd ever met, and I'm like, we're in a rehab.
Yeah, this is all.
I'm like, you're telling me I won? That's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
She was like, this is gonna go somewhere, and I was like, no, it's not. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, just wait, you're gonna fall in love with the most damaged person.
Oh.
Anyone ever has met.
And there's, you know what, and people don't get this, like normies. We call you normies, by the way.
Yeah, you didn't know.
People don't get this. There is a level of comfort and safety in dating toxic people because you know that the rails are going to come off, and you know they're going to fucking leave, or you know what I mean.
You're like a little bit prepared to like,
absolutely,
get hurt.
because but it also, I was dating a girl. I don't even want to call it. We were just hooking up, right? And she literally. We had never gone out. We were just hooking up. And then finally I was like, you want to grab some food? She's like, I don't know what you're meat. What do you? I'm like, she's like, yeah, we can grab food. So then I was like, it was around tax time. And I'm like, so you doing your taxes? I go, what do you do, by the way, for money? Like, this thing was just physical. And she goes, and she got like super quiet and super, well, she was like a sugar baby. And she like got like men paid her money to like whatever.
No.
I could have cared less.
Yeah.
I couldn't have given two shits. I'm like, wait, you don't charge me, you don't need any money from me? She's like, no, you're great. I'm like,
you're like, I won.
Cool. I won. Yeah. But like for me, this was like, this is perfect because there's no future here. And that way I don't have to be intimate with you and you don't have to get to know me. In fact, and of course it went, skyrocketing into the ground. Yeah. But there's a certain safety in that. It's when you start like being real and intimate and like
that's
talking about finances and like
the big one is I am like my family is great, but my family's real interesting. I like the idea of like introducing someone to my family terrifies me so much that I feel like I'm like, well, we can't get that close because and I figured that out like this year. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
The first time I met my wife's family now. Like, we were friends, but I didn't really know her family. It was like we would grab lunch, we would hang out, So I never, like, really kind of got involved with her family too much. But her family knew that, I've got this friend, Ken. And they were always aware of who I was in my existence. So when we first started talking about dating, it was Christmas Eve, and she invites me over. And her dad, so my dad's a firefighter. My brothers are all firefighters. Her dad is a firefighter. And I walk in and they got like
that's so Chicago. I feel like every person in Chicago has like a real
Cops,
like the jobs you like grow up being like, I want to be a nurse. I want to be a like it's like those are the jobs people have.
It's the city of big shoulders. And so I walk in, he's got all these guns on the table, right? And I'm like, I don't like I grew up around. I didn't care. You know what I mean? So he was like, we got this gun. And I literally picked up a gun. I go, I shot this gun in Iraq. And all the guys in the room were like, you were in Iraq? And I go, yeah, to entertain the troops. You entertain the troops? I mean, and so I'm like, well, you guys are won over for, you know what I mean? So it was just like.
That's amazing.
But there's this like level of like maturity and self-assuredness where you're like, yeah, I went to go entertain the troops in Iraq. You're like, this guy's awesome,
You're just like, I'm also aware you're not going to shoot me right now.
Yeah, like, right. It was so funny.
That's hilarious. I can't believe he actually, like, I feel like that's like a thing you hear where you're like, I'm going to be cleaning my gun when you bring your boy. And it's like.
That's most dating in Chicago. That's not the first time that's happened to me. One girl I dated when I was in high school, both of her parents were cops, and he was literally cleaning his gun. It's like, what time are you going to have her home? And we're friends still, and we still laugh about that.
Yeah. Wait, the guy I dated in Chicago for like the longest amount of time, his dad was a cop, and he was like constantly in trouble with the law. And I was like, oh my God, this is so hot.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, his whole family was like cops. And
I got pulled over for DUI.
Yeah.
Suspicion of DUI, right?
Suspicion.
Got put in jail. My dad comes bails me out. Now I like pleaded with the guy, like, my dad's a firefighter. I go, I'll leave the car here. My dad will come get me. No, you're going in. I said, okay. I go in. The next day I call my mom, one of my best friend's moms. I said, hey, I got picked up. I got a DUI. This is my court. She goes, call this guy. He's a great lawyer. Call the lawyer. He knew the cop that pulled me over. He's like, I know he's a ball buster, but he's a good guy. So I go to court, and first of all, my lawyer doesn't show up. Some other guy shows up. I go, who the fuck are you? He's like, don't worry, so-and-so sent me. I go, okay. The prosecutor walks up to my lawyer and looks at me and goes, I heard you're a comedian. I go, yeah. She goes, make sure none of this gets in your act. So then they walk up, and she says something to the judge, and he says something to the judge, and she says something to the judge. And then the judge hits the thing, and my lawyer turns and looks at me. He goes, I don't know who you are. He goes, but we're out of here. I go, grab your suitcase.
Oh my God.
I go, grab your suitcase. I'll buy you lunch. And we walked out. No breathalyzer, no insurance, no. Like, that's what
amazing.
Chicago is, right? Like,
that's the thing I love about Chicago, is that it all seems kind of like
you're all juiced
corrupt
in.
or whatever.
Yes.
And I'm like, very cool.
And I hopefully nobody of any importance listens to this in regards to, but like. And then I sent like flowers to my friend's mom, and she's like, she goes, this was your one time get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Like, never again. But that's the thing. And you move to LA and you're like, oh, I don't have that, insulation anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh gosh, it's weird.
Yeah. I guess I technically got arrested in Chicago, but
It's technically.
I was like just put in the drunk tank, and then there was no consequences.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had a friend whose dad was a cop, and I was like, I like called her to get me out, and she was like, oh yeah, I'll just bring him. They'll let you out.
Of
and
course.
it was like,
yeah,
there was no consequences whatsoever.
I feel terrible for this, and I probably should find this guy and apologize, but I got drunk, and I decided to drag race my friend. I drove a Toyota Camry, and you don't need to drag race a Toyota Camry. Well, I missed my turn. And so I decided I'm going to make the turn halfway through the intersection, and I crashed into another car.
Oh, shit.
And I call my buddy, and he's a cop, and I said, hey, meet me at the police station. I think I'm going in. So he comes in, and of course, they give me a ticket for disorderly driving or something, like reckless driving or whatever. So so I go to court, and the guy who I hit, who was coming home from work, everyone's going to hate me after this, by the way, doesn't show up to court, but it turns out he was driving on a suspended license, and so they issued a bench warrant for his arrest. And
my God!
I walked out.
Holy shit!
Because I looked at the prosecutor. I go, "What do you want to do, man?" He goes, "All right, you can go." And just let me. I mean, it was like. But here's the thing, though.
It was meant to be.
But here's the thing, though. You can't get sober in that environment.
Yeah.
Right?
What I got. Okay, so my Chicago apartment was very shitty. And I constantly lost my keys, and I would come home drunk and just break into the apartment.
Yeah.
And I was in the wrong apartment building.
Awesome.
And I broke into the wrong, like some random person's apartment, and they called the cops.
Yes.
And it's like,
as they should.
Yeah. I'm like, but I'm just like a girl in the wrong situation.
Yeah.
But they called the cops, and it's like any other city that would be like breaking and entering.
Yeah. You're going in.
Yeah. In Chicago, they were like, it happens all the time.
My buddy's a cop. He's like, I don't even know how to write up a DUI. He goes, usually we just throw their keys like into an alley or something, like go find them tomorrow or something. Or we park park the car, walk home, or he's like, we have no idea. We got other things to worry about.
The only person I know who has actually gotten arrested and like they did all the paperwork in Chicago, got arrested for peeing in an alley.
Really?
And had to register as a sex offender.
Oh, that's awful.
Because it was by a school. And I'm like, that's
awful.
It's like, what everyone else did was so much worse, and yet you have actual like.
No, he was peeing on a kid at the time.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Part you leave that part.
Yeah,
of the story
in his
out
mouth.
all the time.
That was.
Yeah. I mean, where else would you pee? But in a kid's mouth.
Like,
I mean,
we all make mistakes.
Come on.
Can't help what he's into.
You're only 40 once.
I think he was like 35. This is also my cousin, by the way, but I was like, trying not to
perfect.
name. I was like, well, I don't think my aunt's going to listen to this.
My buddy went to a Cubs Sox game. We're all diehard White Sox fans. Oh. So he went to a Cubs White Sox game in Wrigley. He got super drunk, decided to go to sleep on the sidewalk. They call an ambulance, and the fire department show up because the ambulance was busy. And firemen shaking him awake, and my buddy wakes up and punches the firefighter and gets the shit kicked out of him by 6 firefighters, as he should.
As you should.
He's got boot marks on his face. Cops come by. I mean, you punch a firefighter or a cop, automatically you're going in, right? Yeah. So they send him to jail, and all of a sudden now we got to call, so-and-so's dad has to go and get, so they get him out. And I remember we got a hold of the firefighter that he punched, and we're like, look, he's really sorry. Here's a gift card. Really like, sorry. Like we're like bribing him. Like,
where was the gift card to?
And it was like some like let us entertain you, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, he's really sorry, blah, blah, blah. Apologize. He's like, oh, so we're like, but just don't go to court. Because if you don't go to court, there's no witness. This dude shows up to court. And it was like a scene out of a mob movie where we're like just staring at him, waiting for him to like walk out of court. Because like all of my family, I come from 3 generations of firefighters. Yeah. We're like, well, you're going to the airport now. Like, this is boring. Like, nobody wants to go to the airport. Like, well, now you're going to get assigned to the airport because like that's how much juice we have. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, nothing we can do here.
Yeah, it was funny.
That's so funny.
He got out of it though. We always get out of it.
That's literally I don't know anyone who. Chicago has no rules.
No.
Bars like close when they want to close.
Yeah.
Like,
I met my first wife. So I met my first wife at a 5 a.m. bar.
Yeah, there was one of those across the street from my apartment.
And that's where all the bartenders and servers go after their shifts.
Mm-hmm. That's where I got a job there. Got fired from there, which I'm like, that was pretty.
How did you get fired from that?
I kept forgetting to like take people's cards.
Oh.
I was just letting everyone drink for free.
But that's the other thing. Like my I guess you call it crew. My crew of guys, we literally bankrupted a bar.
Yeah, that was
like a legit. Like the owners, like, so my best friend was the doorman, my roommate was the bartender, and we would just roll in like 6 or 7 of us and drink them completely
dry. That's like what. Yeah.
And he finally, like, Sunday morning was like, I'm going to close the bar like forever unless you guys start charging for drinks, which lasted like about a week. So he closes the bar, and we go down like 4 doors to another bar, and we walk in, and this guy Al's like, get the fuck out of my bar.
No.
He's like, no. He's like, you're not coming in here. And we're like, oh, we'll pay for our beer. He's like, nope, not a single one of you can go,
There's a bar called Irish Eyes. And
of course, Irish Eyes. I love Irish Eyes.
It has carpet.
Yes.
There's like carpeting.
Yes.
And like
our friend Whitey used to sing there all the time.
I love that. I'm like, I spent years in that place.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story. It's a bachelor party. We go to a bar. I'm on crutches at the time. I had a hip thing going on. And
was it winter?
What's that?
Was it winter?
Winter.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Some guy is getting kicked out of the bar, and for whatever reason, he drops a shoulder into me and knocks me down. And I start to like crutch out, All I see are 2 of my best friends. I just see blurs go walking past, and they go out and they grab this guy and kick the shit out of him. My buddy hit him, and then he moved his head and he hit the concrete and broke his hand.
No.
So then we're like, hey, somebody yells. They called the cops. So 6 grown men get into like a taxi cab. I got like 2 friends on my lap, and we go straight to Irish Eyes. And my buddy's like, this is the greatest bachelor party I've ever, because he's like from the Schaumburg or something like that.
Every bachelor party should end at Irish Eyes.
Irish
the best
Eyes.
bar in the world.
Shout out to Irish Eyes.
The number of fights I caused there.
Oh.
Because Chicago, like the hottest thing to me, I don't know why, is if a man will like defend me or like get in a fight for me. very easy to find in Chicago.
Yes.
You like meet a guy and like 10 minutes later he's like defending your honor.
Yeah.
It was like,
and you're like, did you just call me a bitch?
yeah, exactly. Excuse me, what? He's like, Brittany, I love you.
Yeah.
You're like, that's not my name, but
Yeah.
it was really close.
It can be Brittany. I don't care. I'll change it.
If you're over 6 feet tall, you can call me whatever you
I
want.
love you. I will change my name. I don't care.
Yeah, right? I'm like, I'm for sure going to remember you tomorrow.
Yeah, people don't understand, people understand the Chicago thing. Like, it's real.
It is real. It's the best place to be an alcoholic.
Oh. I mean this. I didn't realize I was an alcoholic until I came to LA.
Everyone in Chicago,
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then on like a Tuesday, I'm at the Improv, and I'm like, oh, let me put it this way. The Improv stopped ordering Miller Lite when I quit drinking. Like, that's how much I drank
That's amazing.
Miller Lite at the Improv. Like, yeah, we don't order it anymore. Like, you're the only one that was drinking it.
That's so funny.
And I'm sitting there on a Tuesday, like open mic night
Yeah.
or whatever, when I first moved here, and I'm like, why aren't you guys getting fucked up? And they're like, it's Tuesday, idiot. Like, we all work tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, wait, what? That's not a...
Oh.
When's
Why
that
aren't you guys
stop
all
anyway?
drinking and driving every moment of the
Yeah.
day? I'm like, come on.
Yeah. I went to DePaul and like, I don't... People go to church
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they have like... I don't know. They have things where they like feed
Dead
you.
relatives.
They feed you after if you go
Yeah.
to mass.
Yeah.
So like students will go and it's like everyone pre-gamed church.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Dude, yeah.
and I was like, this is cool.
Oh, my first buddy got married in like 2001. He was like, he could not wait to get married. I think we were 22 or 23. It was right after, it was a month after 9/11.
Oh.
And shout out, never forget. And the priest literally came out and was like, yeah, you guys are getting, like, I don't mind if you like sip a little bit of, he's like, you're getting fucked up out here. He's like, it's a church. And we're like, all right, Father. He's like, I'm not a father. I'm like, all right, Father.
You're like, whatever.
We're all used to Irish priests. Like, all right, Father.
Yeah, my family got uninvited from midnight mass on Christmas.
Oh, it's amazing.
Christmas Eve. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, we got asked to no longer come.
What happened?
My parents have this really big Christmas Eve party where like my mom's whole family that's like all Irish.
Right.
I have a ton of cousins. We're all like really close in age.
Where'd you grow up?
I moved around a lot, but
Okay.
I went to high school in Kansas City.
Okay.
And like
Where did
mostly
this
lived
take
there.
place? Kansas City?
This was in Kansas City.
Okay,
This was
okay.
when I was in high school.
Okay. Paint the picture, Brittany.
Oh yeah. I had a boss who called me Brittany for it was Gwyneth Paltrow.
Really?
Yeah, I worked for Gwyneth Paltrow for 2 years.
Really?
And she
As an assistant or?
no, I worked for the gym. She owns like Tracy Anderson,
Okay.
which is like a Pilates place. But we had sweatshirts with our name on them. Like my name
Was Brittany?
No, it said Courtney, and she would
Oh
still call
my
me Brittany.
God,
And I was
that's
like,
even
"Can you
better.
read?"
No.
I don't think she can.
No.
She said the meanest thing that anyone has ever said to me in this city.
What did she say to you?
I came in and I was super hungover and still on coke. And she goes, "You look like you could use a cleanse."
Wow.
And then she did pay for the cleanse.
But she wasn't wrong.
No, she was right. I
Really
did need
mean,
a cleanse.
But
It was not like the red meat I was eating that was the problem.
Yeah.
It's like, your skin looks awful. Are you
I
eating?
just did bumps at Warwick. So
Yeah, you're Just like, have you tried organic?
so you're in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, we're in Kansas City.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, my parents have a, just like the most similar parties I've been to their Christmas Eve party is like frat parties in college.
Okay.
Like my grandma like leads everyone in shots.
Okay.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
Less fun now.
She calls everyone pussies.
Yeah, no,
shot
she's
buddy?
like, she gets mad at my mom because she married an Italian guy.
Okay.
She's like, that Italian shit in you. It's the weakness in her opinion. But everyone, like, one time there was like a margarita machine and my dad still gets mad at my sister because she was putting Patron in margaritas.
Okay.
It was like too much money. But everyone got shit faced and went to midnight mass.
Yep.
And everyone in my family thinks they're very funny.
Oh. Okay.
And so their like quiet commentary
Oh yeah.
was like
Very loud.
very loud, just
Yeah.
talking to each other.
Yep.
And the priest came and
That was it.
that was it.
86th.
Yeah, and we were
Is that
told
why you
to
guys
party.
move so much?
Constantly kicked out of church. Yes. My grandma has changed churches
Oh yeah.
many times, and I'm like,
Dude,
I think you're the
Irish,
problem.
Is she Irish Catholic? Yeah, they hold on. Grudges, bro. I haven't met a single Irish Catholic lady in her 70s who doesn't not talk to her sister. I mean, that talk to her sister.
My grandma hates women.
Yeah.
So,
and none of them drive on the highway.
She
your grandma drive on the highway?
Doesn't drive on the highway. Right. She shouldn't drive at all.
Yeah.
Anymore. I mean, she was a terrible driver always. Like, I was like 15 and like just got my learner's permit, and my mom would be like, yeah, if you go out with grandma, you should drive.
Yeah.
But no, my grandma holds grudges. Like, there's like a whole totem pole system of cousins. As a woman, I was already near the bottom. And then I called her a bitch in a joke.
Oh.
That I put on the internet.
Yep.
And I found out she has Instagram.
Okay.
So I'm the very bottom of the totem pole.
Graham's got the gram? Yeah,
for no reason.
All right.
Her profile, I thought it was spam. It was like, it's like 6 of the same picture of Elvis. Like,
my mom loves Elvis too. Dude,
I don't even know if my
we used to
grandma
have
likes Elvis.
Giant oil paintings of Elvis in my house.
Why are there so many like kitschy paintings? Like there's like velvet paintings of Elvis.
It wasn't even like hot Elvis. It was like
it's always it's jumpsuit Elvis.
Yes.
Where you're like
just the chops.
Yeah, you're like, why do you have his rock bottom
and
on
you're
your?
A kid, and you're like, oh, it's just an Elvis painting. And then as you grow up, you're like, why didn't my dad say something? And she's like, oh,
that's true. You're like,
plus, but back in the day, it cost them like $15 to fly to Vegas and go see Elvis. Like it was nothing.
Know. Yeah,
it was like old school Vegas.
Yeah. We have not talked about the subject of this
podcast,
yes. which is on me. I was like, talk about
bad
Chicago.
Influence. I mean, I can tell you the person who was a bad influence.
Oh yeah,
I'll tell you 2 stories. Number 1 was Danny Bruick.
We almost called this podcast first name last name.
Yeah. He actually, I think he's a coke dealer now.
Oh my God, I thought you were gonna say he was dead, and I was like, I don't know if we
can
the story.
He might be, but Danny Bruick was the coolest kid in grammar school.
Mm-hmm. Is grammar school elementary school?
Elementary school. Yeah, okay. Sorry, it's another Chicago thing.
I'm like, they got a lot of words.
He's the first kid that gave me a cigarette.
Mm.
I went to his house. I don't think his dad was in the picture, obviously.
That's another theme on this podcast.
Yeah. And then I remember we were in his garage in a car, and he had 2 girls. And we're like, I think we're like 12, 11 or 12, like 12. And he's like making out with 2 girls. And I remember just like reaching my hand in the back, like trying to feel.
He's like making fun of people for being a virgin when he's like having threesomes.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is the coolest. He had like spiked hair, and he had like all the coolest clothes.
Hair gel got you a long way.
Oh my God. He was the coolest kid ever. And I literally started smoking cigarettes. My grades started to drop. Like, and then but my parents, like to their credit, they're great parents. They're like, nope, no more Danny Bruick. He's out. And, all of a sudden I stopped hanging out.
Did you like sneak out to see him or anything? Like,
no, but it was just like, I wanted so badly to be him. Yeah. Because he was so popular with girls, and I've been into girls since I can remember. I just wanted to like always have a girlfriend. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
and so I think that's kind of like set me off on this path of like trying to be Danny Bruick. So years ago, he like followed me on Facebook. He's like, "I want you to come out and do a comedy show," and I didn't want to do his comedy show. It was at his bar.
Oh, I was like, what, is he a producer? Or like...
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I need $1,500. He's like, oh yeah, I was gonna give you $2,000, but $1,500. We're like, God, he had no idea. So like he comes out. It's the Bulls playoffs. So no one's paying attention. He's like, I'll wait till the game's over. I go up there. Everyone eats shit, and then like 2 weeks later, his bar gets closed down because they're selling coke out of it. And I'm just like, so the second story is this. So a dear friend of mine, I will not give his last name. He stays from freshman year to sophomore year. I went to the University of Iowa. I went to the University of Iowa for 4 years. But from freshman year to sophomore year, he stayed in Iowa that summer. And he got a job, and he started selling weed, right? Then he started hanging out. And I was going to actually call him on the way here because I couldn't remember what fraternity it was. But it was like the rapey fraternity, right? And so he was like, so I get back to school sophomore year. He goes, all right, here's the deal. He's like, I'm selling weed. He goes, I'm hanging out with these guys. I might join their fraternity. He goes, I've got to connect down in Florida. He's like, and he can send us like a key of coke. He goes, and we can literally run cocaine in Iowa City, which at the time was
a drug lord of the college town.
He was the biggest party school in the country at the time, and there was awesome. They couldn't even get weed at the time. I mean, this is like the 90s, 95 to 99. He's like, I got it all. And this is literally the smartest person I've ever met. He's a CFO right now. Mm-hmm. And he goes, we can move more cocaine.
That took me a minute.
So he goes, he's like, we can own Iowa City. He's like, he's like, what do you think? And I literally go, now, let me back up a little bit. At this point, we had the largest fake ID operation in the Midwest. We had
businessmen.
I mean, you have no idea. We have no idea. We ran the University of Iowa for
what
all
state
intents
were the
purposes.
IDs?
What's that? So this was 1995.
Yeah.
We spent $900 on a scanner. That's how much scanners were back then.
What?
$900.
Wow.
And we put poster board that had not handwritten, but it had stencils. And what we did is we got a fake ID, we got an ID book. So we were like, all right, we'll pick fucking Rhode Island. So we made Rhode Island, and then like we got into the stamping and like this is sophisticated stuff.
Wow.
And we were charging like $200 a pop,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden he got drunk one night and they found his fake ID and they're like, where'd you get this? And he's like, I'm not gonna tell. I ain't no rat. Well, he's gonna rat on himself. He was it was him.
I ain't no rat.
So freshman year we had the largest. So now sophomore year he wants to bump it up to cocaine distribution. And I'm just like, let me sleep on it. Now, here's the deal, right? This kid, but we were going to be the muscle because I already had two friends that were going to join us. Uh-huh. They were already freshmen, and these guys are goons, like just Southside, like go kill him, like you got it, boss, like that, So
this is amazing.
So he goes, we're going to join this fraternity, Pikes.
Pike Kappa oh my God, that is the rapey.
Pikes, yeah.
That's still the rapey.
Yeah. So he's like, we're not going to fit in. He's like, but we're going to sell coke to all these kids. They're all Corvettes, Ferraris, they're all rich kids. He goes, we're gonna, and I go, okay. I go, let me sleep on it, and I did. I slept on it.
What responsible
And I go, dude, because again, it goes back to my parenting, or my mom and dad, not my parenting, but my mom and dad. So I wake up. He goes, what do you think? I go, dude. I go, I'm not going to do it. And he goes, why? I go, this is one of those times in your life where you see the fork in the road. I
would not have seen it coming.
We either go this way, and we are cocaine dealers forever until we go caught
to jail.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or we go this way. I go, and the thing that I can't get out of my head is my dad having to bail me out because I was selling coke. I go, I can't get that vision out of my head. I go, I don't ever want to see what that
ability to play the story.
Yeah.
What's it called? Play the tape or whatever. I'm
dude,
like, damn.
it was an intervention of the higher sorts because I was 21 at the time and he was making good money as just selling weed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we had big screen TV, we had leather couches,
Yeah.
So this kid, right? He ends up leaving after junior year. He was a computer science major.
The dealer.
The dealer. He starts an internet company in 1998.
It was Facebook?
Yes. Yeah.
This is
that
Mark
person's
Zuckerberg?
name? Mark Zuckerberg. No. But he moved down to Florida. He started an internet company. I left there. I graduated. I'm like, dude, I got to get my degree. I go, my dad's got to see me cross the stage. I go, he'll die.
Yeah, my parents
I go down there.
See that?
I spend 6 months. It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
He sells the company. He goes to another company. He goes to... And he never finished college, but I think he did now. I think he got a degree at whatever, some Ivy League school. But he's a CFO of a company now. But he's that guy that was always he's like a
businessman.
Yes, always.
If you had done it, do you think you would have become Johnny Mitchell?
Dude.
Before him, you would have beat him to it.
Dude, I gave that kid so much shit. I had to follow him one night. If you don't know Johnny Mitchell,
no one's gonna know.
So he got arrested for dealing drugs in Oregon. I go, and I had to follow him one night at Supernova, and I go, guys, give it up for Johnny Mitchell. I go, he did hard time in Portland, Oregon for selling some weed. I was like, I'm like, I've been locked up at Cook County in Chicago. They're like, you with 2 6 or Gangster Disciples? I'm like, I'm with the Lutherans. I don't know. Bro, it's
so funny because I feel like when I heard bits of his story, I was like, oh my God, so cool. And then I was like, I heard weed in Portland, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, right. That's exactly, and I got off stage. We're friends. I wasn't
I don't really
dick,
know him very well, so I should probably be talking about shit.
First of all, you were in jail in Oregon. Come on. I go, and you're in for weed. Like,
nothing was the crime there.
And now he's like the biggest YouTube drug guy. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know.
This thing doesn't make any sense.
I'm like, okay.
But they hustles. Hey,
yeah,
he
no,
hustles.
yeah. Also a businessman.
Good. Yes.
I feel like, because we had Dare in
high
school, and it was like,
yeah, worked.
It didn't work at all on me.
It
I
worked
was
for
like,
me.
that all looks really cool. And then I did it. But I feel like they touched on like, they had videos about like drug dealers and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it was all very like, this will ruin your life and you'll end up in jail and you're going to be on the streets. And the guy who dealt drugs at my school went to Stanford.
Yes.
And is now like making six figures as like a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he works out at Gwyneth Paltrow's gym.
He probably would.
But,
oh my God.
But that's, I mean.
But it's like, no, he was a businessman.
Yes, that's all it is.
He was like entrepreneur.
If you've got the hustle, if you got, and look, I ended up my last job before I became a full-time comic, I was a managing director at NASDAQ. So I come from that, hustle and money. And I tell people this all the time, and they don't get it. They laugh, whatever. I go, if you want to be rich, just go be rich. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what I mean by that is like my wife and I went to a Super Bowl party a couple years ago, and it was a $5 million house. Mm-hmm. And my wife is looking around, and she's like, this is a really nice house. I go, honey, we could have this house. She's like, what do you mean? I go, you just won't ever see me. Like, I'm going to work 80 to 90 to 100 hours a week so that we can have this house. And I go, but if you want this house, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I choose to live a life of like being around and being with you and hanging out and like doing fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but I can like if you are as obsessed with making money as you are with drinking or relationships or
right. I'm like, I could be a billionaire.
You could, because like if you just like wake up every day and that is your sole focus is to get more money than you had the day before, you can do that.
Yeah. Instead, I'm like, how can I get out of work at this coffee shop today?
Right. And people are, oh man, it's not that easy. I go, it is if that's the only thing you think of.
Yeah. I feel like this kid, the Daniel,
yeah,
the kid who dealt drugs at my high school, I'm like, oh, you could tell how smart he was then, because one time we were at a party and the cops came and he had the drugs with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I have a record. I can't be caught with this. And I thought he was hot.
Right, of course.
So I was like, oh, I'll
right
take
down the
them.
pants they go.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
I'm like, yep, that person was smart and knew how to
and they stay. I knew a guy
life.
dealt coke for 13 years, never got caught. Coke too. I go, how'd you never get caught? He goes, I didn't get gready. He goes, I knew what my bills were every month. He goes, I knew who my 5 customers were.
Yeah.
He goes, and that was it, man. He goes, the only way you get caught selling coke is if you get greedy. He goes, that's the only way you get caught.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I had another buddy of mine, and when we were in college, he was working on the summer, and he was working for a contractor, build buildings and stuff. But he was working for 2 contractors at once. So he would get up from 5 or 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. and then he would go to his other job or something like that. Oof. And by the end of the summer, he had put away $40,000 or $50,000, right?
Wow. And
he started his own contracting firm. And now I see him like on Instagram with like fucking Jimmy John and like all these he's in that circle of people now. But we used to make fun of him because we're out playing volleyball, getting
like,
wasted.
What a nerd.
Yeah, we're like, Mike, why are you working these 2 jobs? He's like, I got a goal, man. He's like, and he took that $50,000 and he built this huge contracting company while learning at other contracting companies. And so, my message to everybody is like whatever your thing is, like my thing is comedy. Yeah. Like I love it. I'm maniacally focused on comedy. Mm-hmm. But if your thing is money, like go out and make as much money as you possibly can. But but no, like my aunt and uncle are millionaires. Mm. They are absolutely run by their business. I mean, that makes sense. Right? That is one of their kids. That is like they spend more time working on their business than doing anything other thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. This beautiful house in Florida, and they drive these sick ass cars, and I'm just like, and I have a boat, and I'm just like, when do you enjoy any of this
I'm like,
stuff?
when are you on your boat?
When do you enjoy any of this stuff? Yeah.
I feel like, the only thing I work that hard at is comedy. And I'm like, well, there's no money coming, but at least passion. And but even comedy, I feel like I have some friends who kind of do comedy, but they don't like going to mics and they don't like going to hang out at the improv mic where you're never going to get up. And they
don't like doing comedy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if that's going to be your thing, I think you have to work hard even at the parts of comedy that aren't the most fun.
You have to show up.
Yeah.
Every day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Every day you have to show up. And when I moved to LA, the way I viewed it was, the way I viewed Los Angeles was, if I'm going to be away from all my family and all my friends and give all of this up, then I am punching the clock at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And even though I was headlining when I left Chicago and I was like, my picture, none of that meant shit. My first show in Los Angeles, I had to follow Damon Wayans. And
what?
the MC had been on The Tonight Show twice.
Damn.
And I called my mom the next day, and I was just like, she's like, what do you feel like what did she say? Do you feel like a small fish in a big pond? I go, I am plankton in the ocean. Nobody gives a shit. And so, but I'm glad I got that lesson early on, which was just like, dude, nobody cares who you are. Mm-hmm. Do the work, get better. They used to pronounce my name. Hey, welcome to the stage, Ken Garr. I'm like, my name is Garr. How do you possibly get that? You know what I mean?
That happens to me constantly, but my last name is like,
it's a little
actually weird.
Yeah.
Like, how do you mispronounce Gar?
Dude, it was, but, and I'm not trying to talk shit about your friends or whatever, but
no, me neither. Also, like, if they don't want to.
If you truly want to do this, then do it. Like, you have to be maniacally focused on that. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't for many years, honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I talk about this all the time. I started with Hannibal Buress, T.J. Miller, Kumail. Like I literally have an email with all of their emails. Beth Stelling, like all these heavy hitters that are doing great. Mm-hmm. And I just fucked around, drank. I mean,
you're also doing great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. But for me, it's like I never thought I was going to do this full time, mm-hmm. so I didn't take it seriously at the time. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like to the point where it's like you watch those like shows on ESPN where they're like cutting down film. Like I'm breaking down film. I'm like, oh, why did I put my arm there? Like, this thing is like that detailed, and you have to work on it that hard. Yeah. So I get it all. Sorry.
No, I'm like, I feel like no. Tell me more.
I believe in you, Courtney.
You are successful. I'm like, I have like 3 successful friends. Tell me how you did it. Everyone else is still at Fourth Wall every night.
But that's where you do it. Man.
That's true. I hosted at Fourth Wall for a year.
Yeah.
And much as I saw the craziest people probably in the world, I'm like, oh, that was when I got better, when I was doing 5 mics and
Yeah.
And
dude,
now I'm like, I get to do shows.
If you can host well on this you'll work every night. If you can host
my roommate is an amazing host, and I'm like, God, that's a good skill.
Yeah.
But yes,
And one of the guys who booked the guy who booked Zanies for 35 years, he said, you're going to be hosting for the rest of your life. Johnny Carson hosts the Tonight Show. Jay Leno hosts the Tonight Show. Jimmy Fallon hosts the Tonight Show.
You're right.
Like, you're going to be hosting for the rest of your life. So get good at hosting.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And I got to LA and I realized like I'm never going to get stage time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get really good at hosting.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh yeah, we got to have Ken. He'll host. Mm-hmm. Like people walk in, and I don't mean to like pat myself, but people walk in and go, you're hosting? Like, going to be a great show. Like they immediately relax. Like we're good.
Yeah. It's because it's like someone with energy who's funny and like can, it's like
there's
their
a
bad
science
host
to
ruins
it.
the show.
Yeah.
Or not ruins the show, but it's hard to get it back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could tell within 3 seconds of a MC doesn't want to MC.
Yeah.
You can tell. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the biggest problems when I moved to LA. And that's why I took over the Ice House open mic and then eventually the Improv open mic, because like you can like take pride in this. Mm-hmm. Like no matter how many, if it's 3 minutes at Fourth Wall, or whether it's 12 minutes at the Improv, like be prepared, do it, crush it, because that's what your job was that day.
Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I'm grateful for is like when I'm actually doing comedy, I don't think I've ever not had fun.
Yeah.
Like on stage, like I've been like, it's a little boring being here for 3 hours and not getting up, but like I've never done comedy and had my day get worse.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, I hope that doesn't change,
That's why I don't own a $5 million house.
That's why I am almost 30 and have a roommate and no parking spot.
Life is
and
good.
4 unpaid parking tickets. This was so fun. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, anytime.
Anything you want to, I don't know when this is going to come out. It'll probably be
3 years from now.
3 years from now, you're going to be like world famous, and it's going to be like, oh, remember that conversation we had?
Yeah.
I'm going to put clips from it out now.
Just visit, if you guys want to come to a show, KenGarr.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. It's all Ken Garr was taken. KenGarr was taken. You can follow me on all
such a
that.
good name.
Yeah. And that's about it, man. Just come out, and the best thing you can do as a listener is come out and support the stuff that I do.
Hell yeah. Ken is like one of the funniest people.
Oh,
you're so funny.
Thank you.
My Instagram is at Courtney Siaco. This is the part I mess up every time. Like, subscribe, all of the things.